We're going to talk sports with DP. We're going to talk SOCHI, and I really highly recommend, don't get it from the news. They'll give you just such little pieces, and it'll be their lopsided opinions. But go to where you can get the behind the scenes and look on the Twitter website or the Twitter feed of, what was it, SOCHI Problems?
SOCHI Problems, yeah.
And I hit Twitter SOCHI Problems, and just read the tweets that people are doing about their experience so far in SOCHI. Have you been reading any of the tweets or the stories, DP, about what's happening in SOCHI?
Yeah, and it's funny too because I have people that are over there, and the stories that are there are just ridiculous. And the sad part is that they're all verifiable and true.
Yeah, and when we're talking the Olympics, where I'm sure all of our fixed belief on this is one of the most magnificent events that could possibly happen. And as we did them here in Utah, we made them magnificent. And the premiers in Russia were saying how, this happens in every Olympic Games. It didn't happen here.
I don't know. I don't know. I think because the preview on SOCHI was so unique that a lot of the stories from Salt Lake City didn't happen. This was a functioning city at that level.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City this was functional and things were in place. I mean, we didn't build a city in Salt Lake City to host the Olympics. We didn't build it up. We didn't change it. We did set different boundaries. This is a whole new thing. This is a brand new city. None of this stuff existed.
Well, do you remember, DP, that they were saying they were threatening us that if we didn't have I-15 done, if we didn't have that speed track done, that they were going to pull the games from us? And didn't SOCHI have that same kind of threat? And as Alan put out this morning, how did they get the games?
Money. When
Alan said.
You find this in sports and in life, that when you have to ask a question of how things simply don't logically add up, in the end, the answer is probably money.
Are they given money? I mean, I heard a number this morning of $43 billion. Do they think they're going to make that back?
No. This is the person who wants to have the party and spends money simply because they're going to have you say, look at how much money this guy spent to have this party. Not that it's the best party, or not that it had the best food, or that it was the best catered, but simply he spent the most money on the party, and that's been accomplished. Nothing else has been accomplished, but that's been accomplished.
Yeah. And they're saying that there's cameras in the bathrooms, and people are tweeting, if Russia has cameras in our showers, I feel a little guilty about not hitting the gym.
Well, it was actually interesting that the slip up and how quickly they pulled that executive out of the interview process.
Oops.
And said, okay, let's stop this guy before he tells anything. Yeah, that's a monumental oops to say, well, no, we've got cameras in the shower that says somebody came in and turned on the shower. We've got cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'd add to that, they gave out 100,000 condoms, and there are cameras everywhere. I'm pretty sure the after effects of SOCHI will have just as much impact as everything.
No kidding.
Wow, incredible, man.
Yeah, let's take the greatest amount of testosterone and hormone, put them in the same place in a town with nothing else going on. Give them 100,000 condoms and lights, camera, action. Here we go. Let's see what magic happens.
We had a young lady on. Her name's Faye Galini, and she will be participating in some of the snowboard events. And I cannot wait to talk to her when she gets home about the experience of being over there. And it's really cool to have a horse in the race.
Yeah, I mean, they've talked about that a lot of this stuff. I mean, the lifts aren't in place. The transit isn't working. Anything from top to bottom is not functioning here. And the journalist friends that I have over there have all been saying that, look, it's a wonderful idea. But sometimes the cute girl from across the bar isn't exactly as hot once you get to know it.
Yeah, once you see what's below the bar. A guy named Mark Connolly with CBC, he's got a picture of, it's just a mess. I mean, stuff everywhere, bricks, paper, boxes, plastic. And it says, a lot of complaints about the accommodations. This is the foyer of my apartment, and it is horrible. Then he takes a second picture, and it's a bunch of coat racks. Just those standard stand-up coat racks with little hooks on the end. And it says, I'm thinking a lot of rooms are missing coat racks. or else you're supposed to pick one up as you go by.
And maybe that's their plan. Why do they not grab the coat rack? These people are the morons.
You got the last room, pal, and that was the storage room.
Yeah,
for all the coat racks.
I've had that room in Las Vegas.
I've had that room in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, and we've all stayed in really bad motel rooms before.
Yeah,
but not at the elite event in your country's history.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, if they had done this in Moscow, I think it would have been a different deal if they had done it in other ports. But look, I understand exactly what was done. It's 30 years from now, Sochi could be their Vegas. We don't know. I just think that this was the wrong time and place. Regardless of the money spent, this would have been better suited in several other places.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, we had our fun with it, but I sure do not want to stay here for the next 14
No,
days.
And I was going to say, I hope more than anything that the competition, the athletes, the stories, everything else far outweighs this stuff. And, just be kind of that fun side note of, good Olympics, but remember that weird stuff that happened in Sochi?
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the case.
And do you have any stories?
This is where it falls in. And then here's the other thing. There is no star factor in this Olympics. So this one's going to rely on the story behind the story, finding the interesting human element that Jim McKay used to so well document. I just don't know that this is going to happen here. I mean, I don't know what kind of successes are going to happen, and I think there's less buzz to this particular Winter Olympics than any one that I've been around.
And you bring up such a great point that I didn't even think about yet. Is we're in a new place, man. We're in a new place. Bob Costas is going to be there, but he's not that young guy anymore. And you start thinking about some of the people that brought the Olympics home. They're not there anymore. Boy, this is going to be a new Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Well, Costas is a great storyteller, and I think the folks at NBC will do a great job in presenting those stories, or at least trying to identify those stories. But to not have, I mean, again, if I asked you who the flag bearer was and what his specialty was and what his history was, we wouldn't know it.
That's true. That's true, man. And how we got to know these towns where the Olympics are being held. And you think how important those Olympic Games were to, here in Salt Lake City. I think of Japan, and for some reason I can't think of the name right now, that last Olympics that were in Japan.
Well, I mean, if you look at Seoul, you look at, Lake Placid, you look at Sarajevo, you look at, those cities become more known because of the games. And that's exactly, again, we didn't know Sochi before they got the Olympics, and that was the purpose, was to create a new city and create a new star. I'm not sure that it has the personality around it. There's no outlying story that's positive about Sochi other than the fact that it was created for this event.
And I'm going to say right now, and mark my words when we get at the end of this thing, that there is going to be some great conversations about what a beautiful place Sochi was. God, I hope. I'm looking at two urinals side by side, and you know how on top of a urinal you have the pipes that bring the water in? These urinals don't have any pipes on top of them.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing like brand new plumbing for several 100,000 people.
Wow, good luck, man. Good luck, guys.
Girls. Good luck.
So do we, who are we going to be watching during these Olympic Games?
Well, that was the thing. I mean, there was a lot of discussion over and normally, the skating darlings of America, the young pixies that will get on ice, are usually the story. But we look, as much as they try to create a star, normally there's some star factor there, and whether it's Kristen Yamaguchi, Dorothy Hamill, you can go back, Peggy Fleming, you can go back, Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding. There's always been a story on ice.
Yep.
And this darling, is the fact that there was controversy over how the team was picked and whether it was fair. They had the Olympic trials, and the young lady got in based on what she had done prior to the trials, as opposed to her results in the final. And the young lady didn't make the team, who would actually finish in the top three at trials. That's the problem with this. There are no stars. Shaun White's your guy. Still,
Yeah, still.
There's no Bonnie Blair. There's no Eric Heiden. We don't have that. That's not who this year's Olympic team is. Like I said, we don't know who the flag bearer is. And that has to be the person. That's got to be the guy.
Good call.
Like if you don't have O'Brien or you don't have a Peyton Manning or whatever, wow. So we're going to sit back and we're going to be introduced to a whole bunch of new people. And again, there are going to be stars that develop and are born out of this Olympics. And for Salt Lake City, you guys are a little bit more connected because that's part of the training rotation. Yep. So, those folks that are there in Utah probably are more familiar with those folks than the rest of the country. But I can tell you, the rest of the country, outside of the Wasatch and the Rocky Mountains, really don't have a clue about who's participating in this Olympic Games.
Very true. Not a clue, man. Not a clue.
That's the reality. Look. I mean, everywhere else, I'm a sports guy, and I can probably name 6. It's not something. It's not going to be mandatory viewing. That's been the case in previous Olympics. This will be something where if you're connected to it, you'll watch it. If there's somebody you know or somebody from your hometown that's participating in an event, but it's not going to be. I mean, people will watch because it's the Olympics. And once the story starts to develop, people may watch simply for the train wreck that's about to happen.
Now, and I was going to ask too. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like I watch the X Games, the this games, the that games, and it's the same people just going to another event now. And the Olympics used to be this big thing that happened, and nothing really else was going on, and it's the only time you ever got to see these people. And now it just kind of seems like another thing that's on.
Yeah, we've centralized the star factor in the events. The events generally, out there in that area, out in Salt Lake, Denver, Vegas, Aspen. That area is where these Olympics are focused, and we know that area doesn't necessarily have that effect on the rest of the country. That's problematic in itself, and I'm not sure the Olympic Committee has done such a great job in marketing. Who's there? I mean, if Lolo Jones is in your top 5 of people that you haven't done a really good job of promoting your athletes. And that to me again is not understanding your market and just a huge missed opportunity for the Olympic Committee.
Yeah. Whereas I watch ESPN, who carries the X Games, and they market it like crazy. You know exactly who's going to be there.
Yep.
You know exactly the events. The brother whose other brother passed away last year in the snowmobile jumping. It's like all that stuff that happened. It's like it's just kind of more exciting. The Olympics is now.
Well, I mean, Alan, think about it. I mean, if you're an X Games fan and an extreme sport fan, you have some understanding of people that are participating,
right?
In that, but those people are so sponsor tied. There's so much money that goes into the X Games sponsorship and the extreme sports sponsorship that it may not cross over. It may not be allowed due to conflict of interest.
Yep.
So if you're a big Pepsi guy or Mountain Dew, you don't necessarily get to cross over and promote that Olympic-wise because that branding isn't allowed.
Yeah, so true.
And you bring up Lolo Jones, and I think that anything that requires Lolo Jones to be covered from head to toe cannot be
That's
a good
bad.
thing.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I've called over to SOCHI to find out for the people that run the camera situation to identify where Lolo Jones will be staying.
Yes.
And if by any chance, that film is available.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to feed to that.
I may be able to be swayed into providing some financial back.
Yeah, that's funny.
maybe
let us know if you get it.
I'm a little worried. I've noticed lately that Bob Costas, those intricate sweaters that he wears, sometimes triggers my epilepsy.
What?
Look, again, can I say that I'm not a fan of the ugly sweater fad? And I know that it happens over Christmas and New Year's and people want to do the ugly sweater thing. But there's no greater opportunity for marketing than the Olympic Games. And when you get to put on the red, white, and blue, and then tag the Olympic Games to it, and then USA, and then those specific Olympics, the idea that you cannot and have not drawn up something wonderful for these people to wear. Have you seen the outfits that they're going to have to wear at the opening ceremony?
Yeah, it's awful.
I'd quit.
Just brutal.
It's
Just
awful. I'd be sick that
brutal.
day. I can't carry the flag. I'm kind of under the weather today.
I've just never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything. Look, you can go back and even the Dream Team days where they had the USA basketball stuff for the summer games, the winter games. The sweaters are usually nice. The Salt Lake stuff you couldn't keep it on the shelves.
Nope.
That's how quality the gear was that they created for those Winter Olympic Games. This year's USA Olympic Committee, again, I'm not sure who's on board. I'm not sure who's running it. But have you seen take a look at the nonsense they've been forced to
We have seen it.
The nonsense.
And it is nonsense. Wow. Okay, well, let's get out of the Olympics. Opening ceremonies tonight. You're going to start seeing coverage, though, if you have satellite or cable TV where you can go in depth. But it'll start a little bit sooner today. But basically, the games in Sochi kick off today. Opening ceremonies, I think, 7 tonight. 7 our time.
Yeah, and they some of the events have already started. The skating events, and figure skating again. That along the downhill, the jumping. That stuff has already started. I'm all about the women's curling.
Oh yeah,
that's everything to me. Like if I'm going to tune in and if I'm going to DVR anything for the Olympic Games, it's not going to be USA women's hockey versus Canada. It's not going to be men's hockey. That's going to take its own beast. I mean, I think that event is going to carry the Olympics through. But for me, if I'm going to DVR anything, it really is going to be women's curling. That to me, if you haven't paid attention to women's curling, you're missing out.
Yeah, well, I'm going to definitely do the same. I'm going to make sure I'm going to make sure Tiff watches every bit of it.
Really?
So she can get the idea that she's special because she knows how to use that broom.
The energy, passion, and technique required is just everything.
Oh, boy.
It's just everything.
Oh, boy.
Okay, outside the Olympics, what do we got going on?
Well, we're finally recovering from Seattle, and Seahawks fans, the 12th man. Finally, I think the hangover is just starting. I think they finally put down the adult beverage IVs, and they've pulled themselves off of whatever hanging branch, tree, telephone wire that they could dangle themselves off of. I think their voices are officially gone, and now they've joined the elite in championship and being able to wear Super Bowl rings. So we would be remiss in not congratulating Seattle, who breaks. I mean, you're talking about since the Sonics in 78, 79, 80, whatever that was. Yeah. That good for Seattle. And I'm not sure that we've heard from anybody from Denver since Sunday late.
I don't think so.
Nope.
It sure doesn't seem like it, does it?
I mean, there was a lot of arrogance when it comes to Denver Broncos fans, and to go in, and it's not only to lose the game, but to lose it in that fashion, and to lose it to a team that had not won before, who you thought you had some advantage over. Wow. I don't know that I felt this bad for Denver since Doug Williams and the Redskins.
I was going to say since the Redskins kicked their
them,
butts all over the field.
Hey, the one thing about the Broncos, when they lose a Super Bowl, they lose.
They do it right. It's not gonna, let's not make this close. Let's not even sweat.
Yeah, I guess if it's not Elway and Terrell Davis, expect the Broncos to just lay an egg, and that was oof.
But Peyton's playing in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week, so he's just going to take a little break and enjoy life for a minute.
He won't get a break down there. The sad thing is they've cleared the gallery. They don't want him shooting any ducks into the gallery. So,
I heard he's like a 7 handicap. I heard he's really good.
Intercepted and running for a touchdown.
Oh man!
Well, if he could play football like he golfs,
he'd
be quite a player.
Anything else happening this weekend?
No, to me again. Look, if you're going to involve yourselves, again, find something in this thing. Settle and get popcorn. Expect the unexpected when it comes to Sochi. I think that's going to be the walking order. Is that You don't know. This is real television. This is reality television at its best. No one possibly can say they fully know what's going to happen in Sochi in these Olympic Games. Yeah. Not a clue. Yep. Get your popcorn, sit back, and be amazed at the nonsense.
Right on. Thank you, DP.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you, D.
You too, man. DP Sports.